and let us all do we can to build a better future. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. So first, let's just read this article from none other than the wonderful Ali Alexandria. The DSA Health Workers Collective held a meeting on Monday, January 4th, to discuss the growing internal challenges surrounding DSA's silence on Force the Vote. I joined in hopes of better understanding what was going on internally because the radio silence from an organization that backs candidates on the subject for Medicare for All was confusing to say the least. I found that most of the local DSA chapters had no issues backing Force the Vote. Other progressive commentators and independent commentators have said the exact same thing, even if they didn't love Jimmy Dore's tone. Yet it was quite clear to me that the lack of support came not out of simple technicalities that come with last-minute bureaucratic voting alone, but rather because of the messenger, Mr. Dore. I felt for most of the members, they were genuinely confused as to why Force the Vote wasn't getting the official Democratic Socialists of America support. I'll provide a more in-depth look into how the national DSA bureaucratic process works, who calls the shots, and what requirements are for DSA to officially support any movement. I walked away with a sense of confusion because the focus was more surrounding how Jimmy Dore was the one to get the movement out there, not DSA. Leaders referred to him as a misogynist, just a comedian, a YouTuber, some guy. You catch my drift. For an organization that supposedly prides itself on mobilization, it's hard to understand why DSA, even after getting a 20-6 vote in favor of backing Force the Vote, chose not to officially endorse the movement. You guys were desperately needed. What a sight it would have been to see DSA there, standing in solidarity with all the other heroic protesters on January 4th, 3rd, and January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Here are just a few comments regarding Force the Vote and the national DSA's lack of support on the issue. Again, you guys can check it out. This article is in the show notes. Judgment. I think there's something wrong with this Force the Vote effort because you don't see the long-time Medicare for All activists supporting it. We need to keep an eye on the ball. Clearly, folks weren't talking about this until some comedian started talking about it on YouTube. Well, maybe you guys should have been talking about it instead of just, sitting on your hands. Now, you look at what's going on and how AOC's trying to make a backroom deal. I just want these elected officials to tell us about these deals and what's going on and the likelihood of each situation. I don't like how AOC is dismissing Jimmy's point. What I gathered then was that figures like AOC are part of the reason there's been such pushback from DSA, some of the members and progressive elected officials on a national, state, and local level. I expected DSA to welcome Movement for People's Party and Force the Vote with open arms, but that was hardly the case on the national leadership's level. It's hard to not ask myself why we continue electing politicians who, at the end of the day, still basically capitulate to the Democratic Party because of their specific organization. DSA refuses to operate as an independent political party because, again, they are a political organization. Now, if we scroll down, we'll see a couple of tweets from AOC. These are stuff that we've seen before. Tired of these people encouraging, ignoring, excusing their own abusive behavior for years to then turn around and act like the biggest cuddle babies in the world. People are hungry. This is what you're mad about. Take the energy, support retroactive UI and checks. And then she goes on to tweet this. This is something that Jimmy Dore's talked about. And to be 100% honest, it was hard during this to be targeted, married as some sellout enemy of the people over a late tactical disagreement over the first floor vote. Also bummer to see figures excuse comments like blank her and blank anyone who protects her. That's not tone, that's violence. So again, I just want to read this final paragraph. More to come on DSA's internal discussions on Force the Vote. For now, don't let up. Hold their vote to the fire. AOC and other progressive elected officials ran on the promise of challenging the establishment. Stop tweeting. Get to work. First, again, Allie, if you're in the live stream chat, I don't know if she is or not. Fantastic work on this article. I also want to pull up this image. Can we get the next link? Because this was sent to Daniel after we got done talking to Jimmy Dore, because we were talking to Jimmy Dore about DSA. Can we? That's not that article, but the other link. That the second one for the event.
Mobilize.us.
Yeah, the mobilized one.
1 sec, we're making this work.
One second, folks. But yeah, that's it. I think that's it right there. Can we zoom in on it? A little bit closer.
There we go.
All right. So DSA, this is their. Hold on, let me read it on my phone too, because I actually have it there as well. So DSA restructuring strategy meeting Saturday, January 9th, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. About this event, this meeting is for DSA members who want to discuss and develop a proposal to challenge the structure of the DSA to be able to more effectively and more democratically respond to urgent political situations like force the vote in the future. I've been connecting with DSA members from all over the country who are frustrated by the pace with which DSA has responded to this issue and the lack of accountability to chapter membership. We have an opportunity to reform DSA and prevent a potential fracturing that the conflict from this moment may cause. Join the Zoom call here. So again, this is an event that's taking place, and I would say it's about time because there's a fundamental difference between leadership and membership. And it's quite clear that membership was on board with force the vote. You don't have to like the messenger. I mean, DSA, I mean, you guys are a political organization. This is, your profession. You guys really should have been leading the charge on this. I mean, imagine the site it would have been if Moving for People's Party, in DSA, we're actually working together on this.
I'm going to read this two ways and kind of branch out what each way could have been. So first is what they're basically saying. Let's just say that we take them at face value, which I don't see. They have a good track record in a lot of ways, so I don't see why we wouldn't in that sense. They're saying, look, we haven't set up our infrastructure to act quickly at things that are happening. That's sort of an issue. That's sort of like, how many things have you missed previously? That seems like a very basic thing that should have been set up. So if they have a real intent and they're going to go through and do a way so that this doesn't happen again, that's positive. At least something good is going to come out of the situation. And the other is that they're just saying something now, but they've had a decent track record. So let's see what they do.
Mm-hmm. And look, I want to say this too. I think DSA has potential to do a lot of work. I know right now a lot of people are very critical. A lot of people have called them out, but I wouldn't blame the membership, the people who are part of DSA. I would look at the leadership, and if they're moving slow on this, you got to...
It's a fast world.
Yeah, it's a fast world, and, a pothead comedian from Chicago, saw what you guys are doing and says, like, hey, let's do it. And here's the thing. Jimmy said this on his show. This isn't about me. He even said, hey, Cenk Uygur, I'll hand this over to you, and you can run with it.
And I think an issue that we should, factor into this is that DSA leadership did sound very negative about this whole thing, and now they're saying it's a good idea. I think that's an issue. I think that's maybe something that they should strive to improve on as well. Because, if you're starting an organization, you're continuing an organization, I should say, that's been around for a while, that's very recently rapidly gained a lot of membership, and you're doing something. These aren't good optics.
Yeah.
These aren't good optics for a base that wants to act fast and nimble. To not have the ability to act fast and nimble is an issue. And I want you guys to be able to do better. And I'm just surprised that this seems like the first time that, based on the writing, that they're like, oh yeah, we should probably be able to act quickly when something happens.
Yeah, and again, to the membership that will participate in this event, now's the time to hold your leadership's feet to the fire, because if they're not going to be moving effective enough, and if they're going to be moving slow at a moment like this, because maybe the only time I could see another force to vote movement happening is, let's say, potentially the Democrats still maintain the majority in the House, and let's say Nancy is still moving along. Well, then here's your other opportunity to do another force to vote and maybe get those 15 progressive congressmen and women, if they're reelected, to, again, really light a fire on, because DSA was needed. I'm going to say they were needed. And, you just blaming a pothead comedian who really has no power. He just screamed like, hey, let's do this. Let's do force to vote. So there were millions of other people who have stories similar to Jimmy Dore, who are dealing with a lot of medical problems. DSA, this is your expertise. There is a chance to turn this around. Yeah, you came in late this time around, but now's the time to get active, because the Democrats are not listening to us, and the Democrats are just farting around thinking that everything's still A-okay.
And here's the other thing, the last piece on this topic that's an issue. They missed their timing at this point. If they're looking right now to start a movement to force the leverage is gone. That was sort of the whole point of the need to do it now. That was sort of a huge part of why Jimmy was really trying to rush it, really trying to make it happen, is because, you needed to leverage something, and what better thing than the leadership for the Speaker of the House. The DSA, I'm sure you guys know, Nancy's in. She's been elected. It's done. what do you guys, and I would like to hear from DSA on this. Maybe they'll make a little press release too. What are you going to do to force the vote?
Yeah.
What are you going to force it against?
Yep. And again, you got to be aggressive. I mean, there's reasons why people flock to DSA in the first place after 2016. And we covered their first convention here in Chicago. Like those videos, like we've interviewed a lot of people who were part of DSA at UIC. This was in 2018. You can check those videos out. They're on our YouTube channel. Check them out after the show. But like, you know, if you're going to drop the ball, then what's the point? DSA, this is a chance to recover. You made a mistake. I'm willing to forgive. But maybe now it's time for new leadership and membership, the people. Maybe you need to start asking for new leadership because you just can't. Don't be angry at the messenger because Jimmy Dore got people riled up. You guys should have been doing it. And you know, I'm willing to bet that Jimmy Dore would have stepped aside and say, all right, take charge. He would have done it. He would have said, take charge, go ahead. He would have given it to you. I noticed for a fact he gave the same offer to everyone else. So next time, fight. Membership, fight.
Although it's going to be hard because it's going to be a while before they can, you know, leverage something.
Yeah, I know. So here's hoping the Democrats don't screw it up in 2022, but it looks like they are. But with that being said, we're going to move on to our next story. But before we do, can we just pull up that last article, though? Real quick. So this is another article that Ali Alexandria wrote as well. These are just images of the squad tweeting out, and we just scroll down. I urge you guys to check out the full article and the other article that I read on the show as well. This is just images of the squad and how basically AOC has a little beef with Ted Cruz and so many other things. And then there's a lot of talk about internet censorship and, again, ignoring forced to vote. Again, Ali Alexandria, fantastic work. You really did a great job on this story, and shout out to Jimmy Dore for sharing that link to Daniel, who I then put it on our show notes as well. This is the kind of stuff we need to be aware of what's going on.
Yep.